3 years ago, I'm talking to Glenn Sanford. We're talking about vendor booths at like EXPCon and Build and this and that. And he's, oh, yeah, you need to talk to Leo. And I'm like, okay, so I call Leo up. I don't know this guy from Adam. And I tell him I'm in Miami, I'm at the Four Seasons, and we're having a great time. He goes, I'm in Miami. He goes, why don't we just meet in person? So I'm meeting with the vendor booth guy. Well, he's not the vendor booth guy. He's our new COO of the fastest growing real estate company on the planet. And yeah, I'm with the hour for breakfast. I go, you're the smartest vendor booth guy I've ever met in my life. You should like run our company. He goes, I do run the company. It's brand new. Somehow I missed the memo. And then he got moved from CEO a year ago to CEO. He's at the helm of the fastest growing record-setting company to ever grace the planet Earth. We love him. He's brilliant. Bring up Mr. Leo Pareja, everyone. Come on! Leo Pareja! Woo!
Good morning. I'm excited to be here with you guys. I have about 20 minutes, and then I'm going back to the airport and going home. And I'm going to talk about that, because time is our most valuable commodity. But before we go there, has anything interesting happened in real estate in 2025? I think we kicked it off with announcing Spring Benson joining us. But pretty much any analyst you heard talk about it, whether it was at Wall Street or conferences at Inman, the prediction for 2025 is that it was going to have probably the most massive shift in mergers and acquisitions our industry has ever seen. I didn't predict that. A bunch of different people said it, and they predicted it Q4 of last year. I heard it a bunch of times at the end of the year. So what's happened in the last 2 weeks and why it matters? KW got a strategic investment from private equity. That happened about a week ago. Followed by Rocket buying Redfin. Did you guys catch the news this week? And yesterday we found out that a leader at a different company is stepping down. There is a lot of change. What I promise you is that it's not close to done. I've heard about 10 rumors that if half of them are true, your heads are going to be spinning. But why this is important is because in moments of uncertainty, it's when you have your biggest opportunities. Yes. 2002 to 2004, I sold lots of houses. I was doing $20, $30 million a year as a solo producer, and I thought I was doing great. It wasn't until the financial crisis that I became the agent I was known for. It was in the moment of chaos that I saw the most opportunity, right? Competing when there's 7 million transactions and anyone who can fog a mirror and get a real estate license is your competitor. But when there is 4 million transactions and you have to bring it because you have to be an expert, depending on what part of the country you're in, inventory is rising. You're having conversations about price reductions that some of you may not be well versed in. This week alone, I've talked to the Wall Street Journal, Money, AOL, and I missed my call with Barron's when I was with Brent earlier, so I have to take that call on the way to the airport. But they all want to know, is it a good time to buy? And the answer to that, it's what it's been for the 23 years I've been in the business. It depends. Are you going to be in this house for the next 10 years? Is this geographic area the one you're anchored to with your friends and family? What's important to you? Can you afford to buy? If that answer is yes, then it's always a good time to buy. It locks in your cost of living. It has a self-liquidating function. The net worth of a renter is about $10,400. The net worth of the average American homeowner is $400,000. It is a 38-time multiple. And the reason I'm telling you this is because that's what you need to go back to right now. There is going to be a lot of fear and uncertainty. Do you guys know what private equity does when they buy stuff? They change things. And that's the only thing I know for certain, right? Capital requires a return on investment. The third largest traffic portal in the country just got bought by the largest lender in the country, who is incredibly efficient at doing what they do. And by the way, I'm not passing judgment on any of these things. I'm just observing. But what I will tell you is that since I got into the business, there has been a concentrated effort by very well-capitalized companies to usurp you in the transaction. And again, that's not judgment, that is fact. We've seen portals get ahead of you in the funnel. And you now have a choice, which again, not good or bad, just a business decision. Do you pay them the success fee for generating the lead, or do you go generate your own leads? And I think the answer is both, right? Use those portals and those relationships to expand your database. But then you have to stay in touch with these folks. Which, by the way, there's never been a better time to have a sphere of influence than now. Raise your hand if you've been selling real estate as long as I have, like 20 some years. Right, we used to use this thing called top producer. And if we went to a Buffini seminar, we would make our calls, oh, by the way, and then we would do our pop buys, and we almost needed an excuse to talk to people, right? Like when the stamps went up. Remember that one? But now you don't need to do that. You are all a one-person marketing company. And to me, the best part about this shift is the fact that you get to be authentically yourself. Right? When you create a ton of content on all social platforms, if they don't like your opinions on fill in the blank, they're going to self-select. And the people who are going to raise their hands to engage with you are the ones who like you and trust you. Right? I remember being like 20 years old at a Brian Buffini event, and he said something that I'll never forget. He goes, the absolute worst thing about working with a jackass client is that they like you and they refer you to their jackass friends and family. So true. There's been a couple of people I've wanted them to forget my phone number. So I want to talk to you guys about the conversations we're having today. Know that there is palpable amount of fear and confusion. Was last year a little wild too? And we got loud as a company. And we made decisions in a confusing time, and we became the calming voice, right, throughout the entire NAR shift. I am telling you, 2025 is going to be just as confusing. The amount of, like, have you guys heard my musings on the internet about CCP and cooperative compensation and all that stuff? That conversation is only getting started, right? There are companies with differing opinions. And I do think that things will shift, and NAR is going to make some decisions, and then companies are going to react. So there is going to be a lot of people moving towards relief, getting away from pain. Just remember, last year was the worst transactional year since 1995. Let that sink in. That was worse than 2008. And by the way, whenever people say the transactional numbers, we do not make an adjustment for size of US population. 4 million transactions is different with 4 million transactions if there's 40 million less humans. Right? The transactions per person, it's a lot less inventory, it's a lot more competitive. So some of you who are in abundance and should be grateful need to change your conversation. Because a lot of you are like, hey, I just paid off my mom's house. And someone's like, Dick, I can't pay my mortgage. Like, I need you to help me how to get to my next transaction. Right? You need to have empathy in this moment. And the conversation is, how can I help you get to your next transaction or your next 2 transactions, right? How can I get you to make your calls, to control your time? Because time is our most valuable commodity. And that's the one thing that is an equalizer to everyone. And the one subject that's top of mind is that this is a marathon, not a sprint. And you need to remember that. And there's two ways I think about that. One, I think there's seasons to life. And appreciating what season you're in is very important, right? I started at 19 years old, and I guest lectured at Boulder for Mike Del Prete in the spring. And I told the kids in the real estate class, I was like, energy is your superpower, right? When I was 19, 20, 21, 22 years old selling real estate, I worked 7 days a week, 12 hours a day, and I still went out and had a social life. I can't physically do that anymore, right? Like, raise your hand if you're under 25 and you sell real estate in here. Energy is a superpower. And the fact that you have all the time in the world is your advantage. When I was up against an experienced listing agent with a whole team, I would say, yeah, but if you go with that person, you're never going to talk to them. I'm completely available. I will hold your house open Monday through Sunday. And I'll pick up all your calls because I have nobody else to work with. Like, you will have my undivided attention. And I promise you, if I don't know the answer to that question, I work with a company who can help me get that answer, right? And then when I became that team leader, I talked about how my systems and processes and everything else. Play the hand that you're dealt at all times, right? Because that's the superpower. And then acknowledge that, hey, I can work like this because I don't have little ones and a partner that I'm going to hurt if I'm not there. And so just recognize the moment that you're in. And then the other part, how I think of time, is you have to schedule it ahead of time. Like, I'm not embarrassed to tell you that the entire EXP calendar is overlapped on the Riviera Day School in Miami. I'm not missing a goddamn thing. Because if I don't, I can't show up for you guys, right? Because if I'm low energy because I miss the important stuff, you guys don't see me show up as fierce and intense as I do for you guys. Make sense? How are you doing that in your life, right? Do you schedule daddy-daughter dance and the competitions and the important stuff before you go scheduling even a seminar? We had a QBR last September, and I heard from one of our leaders who missed the first day of college, I said, if I ever hear you did that again, I'm going to fire you. Like, that's not okay. You can't get that back. So just make sure that you are time blocking the most important stuff first. And be okay with saying no. The rhetoric that you guys are on 24 hours a day and 7 days a week and available is your fault. Because you are not placing you're not placing an emphasis in the value of your own time. Like, I'm pretty available to you guys, but do I ever respond after like 8:30, 9 o'clock? Never, because I'm normally asleep by then. But like, my first call doesn't start till 9:30 a.m. East Coast Standard, because I woke up, I made breakfast, I took the kids to school, and I worked out. And my last call is about 4:45, which, by the way, in between, I don't have lunch, and I probably do 16 meetings, and I have more stamina than most of you. But that's because I'm fully rested, and I got to work out, and I got to spend time with the people who recharge my battery. And I think too many of you don't think of yourselves like that high performer that needs to do that, right? You're like, I'll just return one more call. And what happens? It burns you out. And this is why your business feels like this sometimes, right? Because you go hard, and then you're like, oh, I can't. And either you break down, catch a cold, get sick, your energy comes down, and then when your energy comes down, you show up to the appointment with your energy down, right? Like my appointments, I'm up against Sharon and Gary every day. And by the way, me and Sharon are boys. I text them all the time. So but he's an athlete, and so am I. And on any given Sunday, I will lay his ass out. So, one more thought. I want you guys to audit what you consume. and who you give your time to. I want you to audit what you consume and who do you give your time to. Because it's that drip of information that can distract you, right? Is it building you up? Is it tearing you down? And make sure you're extremely careful with what you allow in. And when I first started businesses, I hated the word small to mid-sized business, SMB. It's a definition by size of business or lifestyle business. They're interchangeable. And that's basically a smaller business that is not a growth-based business, not to take public or you raise venture capital. Until I built one of those and then realized that these are much better. And the reason a lifestyle business is called a lifestyle business is so that it provides for the lifestyle that you want. So what I invite you to do is to start with the end in mind. And I have this conversation with agents all the time. I talked to an agent 2 days ago who did 340 deals, $100 million in production. You would think she's killing it, and she was just exhausted. She's like, I think I need 50 people instead of 20 people. She said, what should I do? I said, what do you want to do? Right? I would ask the question, in the season of life you're in, how much money do you need? Gross and net. Like, do you have a target of free cash flow to invest? Look, if all of you aren't buying real estate, that's a big mistake. It's what we know best. It's 80% of all the billionaires and multimillionaires on planet Earth hold all their wealth in real estate. So do you have a target for what your home needs to fund your home? Do you have a target for the free cash flow to purchase investments so you don't have to do this This is hard. And you will burn out. So either you set leverage systems or you replace the revenue you need with passive income. Or this little thing called rev share, but either one, I'll take either one. So make sure that you are designing the life you want. And again, there's seasons to it. Like if our kids were in 8 and 10, Ariana and I would probably spend 12 months on the road going from town to town hanging out with you guys. But that's not the season I'm in right now. And so it's only up to you to figure out what you want it to look like. Every day I get asked, what is our company, what is our model? And I've distilled it down to like about 9 words because I think it's the most impactful way of describing it. We are a platform that allows entrepreneurs to build whatever size dream they want. We are a platform that allows entrepreneurs to build whatever size dream they want. And I am completely okay with that if that's you selling 8 homes. Or if you want to be number one, and I think you got to beat Matt Delhoun at 1,100 homes this year. Or anywhere in between. Or build a rev share organization, or not. It's about your journey and your experience that matters. And I caution you when you come to events, because I think one of the scary things about events is you hear somebody get on stage and dazzle you with their story, and their God-given gifts are different. And you go home and try to do that without having a very deep introspective conversation with yourself, right? Like, can you guys guess I'm a DI on a disc profile? Right, like doing this, which by the way, I scribbled some stuff in the room before I came, but most of this is just coming off the top of my head. This is the greatest fear if you ask humans statistically, what I'm doing right now, right? My God-given talents don't really allow me to stare at spreadsheets very long, but I have to do it at least once a quarter and normally once a month. But that day where I'm going to do 4 hours of consolidated financials for a publicly traded company, I don't schedule date night. Because I'm going to show up the way I don't want to show up. Right? So having a very honest conversation with yourself regularly and being okay with the fact that we change as we have different life experiences. It's super important that the educational system and the whole planet is broken. right? We are taught to work on our weaknesses. Right? Now I pay people to do my homework, and it's called leverage in a successful business person, but in high school it's called cheating. So, I was listening to a podcast this morning to get hyped up, and Alex Hormozy said something, and I wrote it down. I'm going to say it word for word because I think the really interesting part is he said this about general business, but it feels so specific to what we do, and I couldn't agree with more. Beating 99% of people is simple but not easy. Show up early. Prepare the night before. Remember everyone's name and story in every interaction you have. Say no. I'm going to say that one again because that's probably been one of my superpowers I've developed over the years, is saying no. There is this automatic implied guilt. You don't have to say yes to people, right? Like if you come to Miami, I will not have dinner with you. But I will have breakfast and lunch. Because that's a rule, because that's for my kiddos, right? Because at the end of life, they're the ones going to be there. Follow up quickly, right? It's the example Coach Burt said about Al and Jay. Follow up multiple times. If I've personally attracted you to this company, do I follow up? Deliver value in every interaction, right? Time is a valuable commodity. So when I'm with you, I don't waste yours. It's all about doing the basics consistently. That's what makes you advanced. Thank you very much.